Ghana makes headway with IMF program. The story says the Minister of Finance has said the progress so far made regarding the third review of the IMF's extended credit facility is satisfactory and indicative of the government's commitment to the program. Now, the IMF team sure has met the government's team, and a lot of discussions have gone on. Now, we're told that the latest discussions were a follow-up to the IMF mission in April and May, after which a number of prior actions, some of which were entirely new, were introduced by the IMF, including the approval of a public financial management law by Parliament and the amended Bank of Ghana Act by Parliament, and a strategy to address the debt and financial situation of state-owned organizations, and other issues have been taken care of. So, Mr. Kobi, let me start here with you. There was some kind of dark clouds over the program when the third tranche wasn't coming in. Now, Daily Graphic is reporting Ghana's made a headway with it. The finance minister said that the review has been satisfactory and it's indicated government commitment to the program.
Yes, you know, when we started this IMF program, there were a lot of skeptics who thought the program would never see the light of day or would never be completed in the manner that it was fashioned out. But consistently, we are seeing that we've met the first tranche, we've met the second tranche, and obviously we are going to meet the third tranche, which means what the government set out to do has been achieved broadly. And once that has been achieved, it behoves on the IMF to also meet the government in terms of what it looked for. So for me, this issue of its achievement tells us that, look, the plan was supposed to have been done in a way, and the plan seems to have met the satisfaction of both partners, being IMF and the Ghana government. And that, for me, is the clearest indication that we are on track in terms of how we run our finances. That is the happiest thing that can happen, because, you know, when you're a government and you enter an IMF program, especially with the thinking of those days where they had all kinds of restrictions on you, and you were facing an election, you would ask yourself, is it better to enter the program now or wait till after the elections? But this government took the bold step. Regardless of elections coming up, they decided to enter the program and consistently have met the tenets of the program, which has resulted in the third meeting going on successfully for the third tranche of finances to be relieved to bolster the economy. So, for me, it's a lot of good news, and it shows that consistently when we work at something, we can get it rightly done.
I'm grateful. Titus, a quick one there. The work concerns, as I put it to Mr. Champon, that the program had come to a halt because of certain things that had to be dealt with, particularly members of parliament who had to pass that Bank of Ghana Act. But there is good news this morning as far as the Daily Graphic is concerned.
Thank you very much. I don't see that as a good news. Why? Because ontologically, when you look at where we were before this government put a neck into this IMF program, it was totally avoidable. Because if you are not thrifty enough, if you are not so disciplined enough in the way you spend, you know, and you end up crying for credibility. Because I recall when His Excellency the President was in Senche, one serious statement that he talked about was the issue about credibility of our finances. And for that matter, he has to rush to the IMF. The IMF is like a big brother. He tells you to sleep at 6 o'clock. You go and sleep at 6 o'clock. But if you are well disciplined enough, you don't overspend recklessly. You know, we wouldn't have gone to IMF. In 2012 elections alone, Office of Government Machinery spent about 300 million Ghana cedis. National Ministry of Youth and Sports, 30 million Ghana cedis, about 300 billion old Ghana cedis. And that was where the JIDA corruption came out from. NADMO, 30 million Ghana cedis. In 2012 elections, I never heard of any force majeure compelling the NADMO to go and make their support whatever they do. And it created a big hole in our finances. Now, whatever money that you bring in, it falls down. The Bank of Ghana have to absorb it. You recall the Eurobond that they took the $1 billion. Quickly, because they took the money from the Bank of Ghana, immediately they had the money. Quickly, Bank of Ghana have to sit on the money. Now, what are the conditions that goes with this IMF? Recently, the TUC, in their recent delegate conference in Kumasi, the president was told on the face that the IMF program is not good enough for us. One of the high tariffs that workers and Ghanaians are paying for, that we cannot bear it. Number two, wage freeze. Look at the students who have finished school. Government public sector workers can't get jobs to do. They are in their homes. They finish school and they are looking at the faces of their parents to give them money every morning. And again, I want to say it here and now. In 2017, touch wood, if NDC should win this election, they are going to sack people from the public sector. I'm telling you, and they want to massage.
You must have been working with government to know.
My brother, I'm a member of parliament. We know what is going on.
All right.
And they tell you, oh, it is not so. And we know these NDC people. I'm telling you, don't sack people. So if you are watching me and you are in the public sector, be careful. Those of you, you'll be very careful. This electricity matter that we are talking about, it's part of the conditions. Government is owing UCG billions of cedis. Why are they not paying? Why is government not paying? That is why the workers are livid. If government is able to pay part of their debts, I'm sure we'll all be at peace. All of us sitting here, now we're on prepaid. Pay as you go. You go and pay, they load your credit meter for you. Why is government not fulfilling its debt? And they want to pass this on to us. And again, when you look at the electricity company of Ghana, their commercial wing is privatized because they have private people who are really selling their credit for them. You get your money, you go and pay, they load the credit for you, then you also go and sell it in retail. The laying of lines, erection of poles in various villages and all that, it is not done by UCG workers. They have subcontracted it to private people, and that's what they do. Today, the waste, before they sacked this their former managing director, he has been able to reduce the level of waste. You know, they call it system losses or that kind of thing. He has able to reduce it. You have the PURC threshold and you have the international threshold. But the gentleman have forgotten the percentage, but he has been able to reduce the percentage drastically, which means that gradually they are getting there. So why seriously pushing our neck into this UCG business? It's all part of the IMF conditions that we're talking about. For us, it's already there. It is the same people who have to bring us out of the IMF. And the president is saying that God willing by next year, they will take us out. MPP who were there, but we managed to win ourselves from these British institutions, to manage the resources so well. The little that we have, we're able to manage and let the country run. Now you've put us there. There are no jobs for the youth. What do? High tariffs we are paying. And at the end of the day, these high tariffs we pay in terms of people in productional areas, they'll pass it on to the consumer. And it becomes a vicious cycle. What do?
I'm grateful. I'll come back on this one. Rauf, it is good because there were some dark clouds over it, but the MPP says, well, it's not good because you didn't manage our resources well and took us there. But the Daily Graphic is reporting this morning that we have made headway with the program. The discussions for the third tranche is over, and the finance ministry says it is satisfactory. I think some is it 91 million, 900 and something million dollars. I am unable to get the exact figure. Ralph.
Well, I would want to ask a question. What was Senchi all about? We all were in this country when the NDC government assembled Ghanaians from all walks of life at Senchi. And if my understanding were right, we're made to believe that they wanted to come out with homegrown solutions to our problems. So I would minimally expect to be hearing, news from the IMF again. In fact, when it comes to IMF, the Convention People's Party, our choices on IMF is very clear. We are strongly opposed to any kind of facility that would actually undermine the independence of our people. So now we have also argued over the period that IMF has one single medicine, and irrespective of the sickness, that is the medicine that you will be forced to administer. And that medicine is about austerity. Cut interest, reduce, increase taxes, you know, and then that of interest. So it doesn't really matter. And then also there should be subsidy, you understand. And we have said that a country like Ghana, it is mandatory that government should subsidize several sectors of the people's life. So for example, as Honorable Titus argued earlier, agriculture, 60% of Ghanaians are in the agriculture sector. And I even want to add that if you go to the rural areas, about 90% of the people do activities which are related either directly or indirectly to agric. So for example, we are opposed to any IMF conditionality that would ask government to withdraw subsidy from agric. And then also apart from that, you find that Ghanaians are very enterprising. Our people are bringing up all sorts of ideas so that they can also have opportunity to put money in their pocket to be able to solve their daily problems. So now if you ask that interest rates should be increased, and then what are you directly telling the people? So when it comes to IMF, the Convention People's Party has always said that, look, any kind of facility that would actually undermine not just the independence of our people, but also the happiness and the safety of our people, it has to be rejected. You recall that in 2008, when NDC came into power, for more than 3 years or 4 years, I don't know if the ban is lifted, the government was, debarred from, employing Ghanaians. And as Titus mentioned earlier, on yearly basis, so many of our youth are being churned out of the universities and polytechnics with no jobs to do. Certainly, what would you expect? There is going to be upset, in social vices. And no wonder this morning I was reading a news story that, police officers are engaged in armed robbery. Police officers. So if those who are supposed to maintain law and order themselves engage, in activities of armed robbery, then what does it tell? It reminds me of
they are not just bad ones.
It reminds me of a Dagomba proverb that says
at least they are working, so if they are engaged in armed robbery, then they must be bad now.
Now that is why I'm saying that. But the point that I want to make is that, so for example, they are supposed to maintain law and order, and they themselves, they are also engaged in armed robbery. I recall an instance where someone told me that they were coming from Tamale to Accra, and then they were attacked, and they ran to a nearest police station, and the police said that they could do nothing about it. And all these things has bearing on the lives of our people. And I wanted to give a Dagomba proverb that says that if you go to a village where the chief of the village himself would do some kind of funny haircut, what kind of cut do you expect the youth to have on their head?
What do you mean?
For example, if you go, there used to be this cut called punk. So if you go to a village where the village chief puts on punk, what do you expect the youth? What kind of haircut do you expect the youth to have? So I think that in summing up, I have to stress on the idea that yes, IMF probably in our time, I think that another opportunity for development has come. South-South development cooperation. Now China is emerging, and then some people are even saying that there are words are being lacked to describe the rate at which the Chinese growth is coming. We can promote growth with China. Because IMF, we all know that their conditions are draconian. Their conditions are hellish. And then Obasanjo, I recall some time ago, said that any country that organizes itself on the prescriptions and policy directives of IMF, you are going to fail in life. And I want to pose a question. If there is one country around the world that was hitherto poor, backward, maybe having a stable economy, and through IMF advice and then prescription, they have now been able to make it in life, I want such a country to be mentioned since the inception of the IMF. So these are some of the issues. So the Convention People's Party said that IMF, no, maybe when we have to explore, other avenues by which we can promote the development of the country. And I've argued, even Dubai, so many places, depending upon how you are able to set down, trade relationship. So I think that the government has got to sit up. We recall so quite clearly in our minds that in Sinchu we were told that they were coming out with homegrown policies. And I believe that that should realistically be the solution to our problem. Because IMF, they have exogenous, policies. So, for example, the initial thinking that goes into the formulations of their theories and then what have you, do not have in mind the circumstances and the needs of our people. So as a serious country, that is why I told you earlier that the Convention People's Party, we are doing People's Interactive Manifesto, so that you can get to the people. Look, even if you go to a rural areas, you'll be shocked with the kind of ideas that people can give, that can actually bring about the wealth that we all want to create in our country. Right. So we've got to make sure that, yes, we pay attention to homegrown policies. Let's actually look within, because for a very long time we have looked without.
And we're not getting the results.
So let's look within. Yeah.
Okay. I'm grateful. Mr. Champo, you can, because your critics are suggesting that even taking us there itself is problematic.
You see, right. The issue is this. In this country, I cannot recollect any government that has never been to the IMF. In this country, we are a member of the IMF.
Does it mean it is good? Because every government is been there?
We all go when you need to go. When you don't need to go there, you don't go there. But when you need to go, you go. Because you pay dues. And therefore, the facilities there are for you. Now, my friend is talking about IMF as if we are in the 1970s. The IMF now has changed so much. In fact, now they rely mostly on your own policies that you've developed as the basis for granting you the help you need.
But they'll give you a
please. They give you
Ralph, just note it down.
They give you the opportunity to develop your own policies, and then they bring their bread to bear on it, so you can carry out those policies. 2009, when the NDC took over from the NPP, we were in an IMF program. I recollect Dr. Dufour writing to the IMF. We were in an IMF program. So it is not as if it's one government that comes and takes us to the IMF, others don't. Consistently, People's National Party took us to IMF. Under Dr. Hilal Iman, they took us to the IMF. So this issue of browbeating the IMF into submission, for me, is a non-starter. You are a country. When you go through a certain period where you need to go to the IMF because you are a member, you must go. Because you continuously pay your dues. And if it is going there, that will enable you get a certain level of relief, you go and do it. That's it. So I wonder which one of these parties will come to power and say they are withdrawing from the IMF program.
They think, Ralph thinks that for the CPP, they won't go there.
You see,
he talked about China and emerging economy,
I'm telling
and
you,
he thinks that is the direction.
Right, it is talk.
Oh, I see.
It is just talk, political talk. They will all follow the program. And please, Titus, nobody is about to be sacked. I mean, you are making a categorical statement that people will be sacked. There's no scintilla of evidence to support what you are saying. Nobody is going to be sacked. If you have your job and you are doing your job right, why should you be sacked? If you have your job and you are doing your job right, why should you be sacked? And you see, they constantly say unemployment. Government has consistently said in health and education, there is employment going on. And yet, so we make it look like there's nothing happening.
So there's no freeze on employment in the public sector, health and education.
Exactly. There's employment going on. Perhaps the number of people to be employed has fallen short. Granted, yes, that is true. But there is employment going on. People are being employed on a daily basis. We are employing teachers, we are employing nurses. Today, we have more nurses than we need in this country.
I heard about the president talked about 1,000 lecturers that he had agreed. And the Utah comes out and says that they are not sure about it. Perhaps is that not what is causing the confusion?
Fine, but there is employment going on. We have more nurses than we perhaps need in this country. And therefore, you see nurses always wanting to be in government employment because they are bounded. But because we have more than we actually need, what is happening? We have some who are still waiting to be employed. We must have an understanding of these issues and work towards reducing the number of nurses who are unemployed. Those are the things that the government is doing. So this constant harping on unemployment, high levels of unemployment, there are jobs that are there for people. You see, I always continuously say, in Ghana, we don't have unemployment in the strict sense of the word. We have structural unemployment. Look, if I graduated from school, and the first line of work for me to do is something in agric, I would say I wouldn't do it. Because I see my friends working in insurance, banking, I also want to be there. But the fact is, those circumstances under which they got there are different from my personal circumstances. I could work in agric and be employed and be happier than person working in banking. But we all want to go into banking. We all want to go into insurance. We all want to wear ties and sit in the office. I always use this guy who is in Tepa, who graduated and started tilapia farming. He started on a small scale. Today, he's the biggest producer of tilapia in the Ashanti region. And he's just doing it in tanks. You understand? We need to take the opportunities that come to us and take it seriously and work at it. It's not just about going in line because everybody is going here, we all go there. If we continuously do that, we will grind this country to a halt. We need to be ideas people. Look at new ways of doing things. Look, I ask myself, we have all these companies that are there in tourism. All that they do on a daily basis is organize events. How can you sustain yourself on organization of events? If you go to 1 event, 2 events, 3 events, you are tired. What about packaging the level of tourism in specific areas in the country? Because we have tourist sites all over the country, and selling these packages on a daily basis for people who come in from abroad, for the Ghanaian population. We are not thinking outside the box.
What about your critics who say that, look, I want to start a small business, but interest rates are high, I can't go on the commercial market to borrow, and so they don't even have what it takes to start something.
You see, if you want to start a small business, what do you need?
Money, of course.
You need money. But you say you are starting a small business. What level of smallness is your business? We need to cut our coat according to our sizes. We just don't do what everybody else is doing. There is credibility in starting small and building it up. That is how economies grow. In the United States, do you know the number of small-scale industries that hold that economy? Countless. It's not only the giant industries. The small mom-and-pop shops around the neighborhoods who sell liquor, sell this, they are the ones that hold the economy because they employ 1, 2, 3, 4 people.
So how much, for instance, are you suggesting that people can start businesses with 100 cities, 200 cities?
You cannot start a business with 100 cities. But even then, you go into our local fishing communities. Give 100 cities to a woman and let her start selling granules. And go back in 6 months and ask her of her productivity. You see, she would have moved that money up. That is the reality. She would have moved that money up. They sell granite, they sell oranges, okay? And they sustain their families on those 2 things. Some go and buy fish, they smoke it and sell. They don't need a lot of capital. They don't need a lot of capital. All they need is a aluminium bowl that they can go for. There are things that we can do continuously to sustain ourselves. So let's be optimistic about this country, because I believe this country has a lot to offer us, and we also have a lot to offer the country.
I'm grateful. Title's coming.
Kobe said the IMF these days allows countries to develop their own programs. Granted. So it means that they drew the program that there should be a wage freeze. They drew the program that there should be high tariffs. Utilities. Please. Are you Kobe? Can I speak respectfully? Thank you. It means that they developed the program that there should be wage freeze. They developed the program that they should increase tariffs on utilities to make it so expensive that people and institutions cannot afford that. Again, he said there's employment going on. Are we not in this country when nurses have to go on demonstration?
He tried to explain it. The government has so many of them that the others
Stop these things. When he was talking, you didn't interject and ask in this question.
I'm only saying that he made a point.
You've given the floor to tell you my side of the discussion.
Okay,
and I'm saying that he is saying that there's job ongoing in the health sector. And I'm saying that quite recently, they mass up at the offices of the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations with placards. Some who have finished nursing training for years are begging government to give them jobs to go and do. For days they were there. At the end of the day, what happened? They were referred to Youth Enterprise Agency. Is that where they were trained to go and work?
Would you agree the government says that I have 10 nurses, that's what I need to work in the sector. Now there are 20 more out. So what I need to do is to find out where I can fix this 20, and not the fact that government is not employing them.
There are so many health institutions across the length and breadth of this country. I can tell you, the nurses that will graduate every year, when you go to the villages, I served my 6th Form National Service in 1989 in a village called Amunie, 12 miles from Enchi. And they have health center, not in Amunie village, but 2 villages away called Sewom. We have, when you are sick, you have to walk over there. There was one senior nurse and some health assistant that manages that place. So you can imagine pockets of all these health centers that we have in the country. If we send these nurses there, wouldn't they get jobs to do? It is because the IMF said we should not employ. That is why they are not employing.
Okay.
And that is the basic truth. Okay. Again, let me talk. He talked about tourism package. Because people in the tourism industry are interested in doing programs and what do you call it?
We talked about events.
Events. Beautiful. They are in government. 8 years. 8 years. I feel sad anytime I go to a dam and I sit down and I watch this water all the way going into the sea. We can't do anything about it. It's just some pockets of small hoteliers that are just at the banks of the river trying to make very good ends meet. And let me praise those few hotels that run the place. You are in government for 8 years. What policies are you giving to these people? They are the same people who are telling us the government is competing with them in the sourcing out of monies from the local banks. Because you cannot get up and go and look for money. Because my name is Nikwate, I have a very black face. Because I want to go into tourism. I should be very innovative to see what I can do to promote tourism. But it's not easy. What arrangement have you put in place? 8 years. It is about leadership.
I see.
That is killing this country.
It is leadership. That's what you're suggesting. All right. Raouf, a quick one. I thought we could look at this ECJ then.
You see,
particularly when you wanted to raise a point about our policies and issues when he was talking about it.
Yes, you know, at least if you have studied the operation of the IMF and the World Bank for a very long time, you will come to the ultimate conclusion and realization that even if they give you the leeway to bring your own ideas, it is to be formulated within a certain template that they will provide. And the template does not actually have the best and the strategic interests of your people at heart. And that is why when Professor P.L.O. Lumumba came to Ghana and said that any time that the IMF is patting a country on its back, then that country has got to be worried. Because the IMF, we all know the agenda that they represent. And when Kobe was talking, I noticed that somehow, you know, he was not actually being sensitive to, you know, the plight of majority of Ghanaians out there. I do not believe that we have structural unemployment in Ghana alone. All the types of unemployment that I have studied in economics is prevailing in Ghana. Seasonal unemployment. Status made it very clear. When you go to the rural areas, they have one season, particularly in the north. And once that season is off, they would actually, all their plans would be, you know, waiting for the next, you know, rain to come. You understand? So seasonal unemployment is also there in the north and other farming communities in this country. And also I know technological unemployment. There are still many Ghanaians who are not up to minute with technology. And those people have been rendered, you know, unemployed. The point that has to be stressed is that poverty in Ghana is a reality. And it doesn't matter how you want to look at it. I know, as a matter of fact, that if you go to a rural area, there are people who cannot make 50 cedis saving at the end of a financial year. They can make 50 cedi and savings. So for such a person, if you ask him to expand his business, how on earth is he going to do it? And apart from that, the type of unemployment that we are talking about is graduate unemployment. Majority of our youth come out from the universities and polytechnics. They do not have any job to do. So if you want them to start up something, I believe that if you give a graduate 500 Ghana cedis to start doing something, it is really going to be very difficult, especially in Accra. Maybe in some jurisdiction, in some areas, it can start something, but in Accra. So that is the kind of argument that we are making. Poverty is a reality in Ghana, and perhaps the best way that we can deal with the poverty among our people is not on the basis of IMF prescription. No matter the government that IMF or the kind of face that IMF will put on, the intention and the objective of IMF has always stood the same. And I agree with Kobe, when he actually said that, look, when CPP comes to power, we would have no option than to deal with IMF. I have said that any kind of arrangement that would undermine the independence and the prosperity of our people,
we will
resist it.
I see.
Can I make
okay, we'll wrap it up. Okay, let me give you a few seconds time also wrap up for you.
Yes. You know, he's talking about all these kinds of unemployment, and he's talking about university graduates. Fundamental question you ask: when you enter a university and pursue a course, what are your goals when you get out? Your personal goals. What are they? Talk to a lot of our young graduates. They've just been through the university. That's it. A lot of them cannot find personal goals that they want to accomplish.
Are you suggesting because of that the state should love them, should leave them on their own?
The state shouldn't leave them. But the fact is, you see, you must be ambitious about the things you want to do, and they take advantage of what the state has to offer.
I see. What's the state offering here?
That's the point. The state is offering a lot, but you see, most people don't even find the time to. Recently I was in my constituency. I have a lot of graduates who are unemployed. You know, Youth Employment Agency has advertised a lot of their programs. Fundamentally, you have a 2-year period to get on a program. You'll be sustained with a stipend for 2 years, and then you can break into your own. They don't even have the knack to even apply. I said to them, like, why are you not applying? Oh, we've not seen it. We've not heard of it.
I see.
Go and have a real interaction with people, and you have a feel of what is going on. I'm not saying it's all rosy. There is a lot of poverty in this country, granted, yes. But you can also make a lot out of the same system. I've used the guy in Tepa as an example. He didn't start off rich, but he started from a small way, and consistently he's moved to a certain position. We need to take the bull by the horns and get some of these things done. We have a lot of young people. If you go to all these young guys who are now programming, doing programming and writing applications and stuff, today those who are focused are making it. Those who are focused, because everybody needs an app for something, and they are making it. We can also continuously push people in that direction so that they can make it. It's a collective effort for us all to get there. It's not I sit alone, you sit alone. We have to move collectively and get some of these things done.
I'm going for Titus wrap up in just 1 minute.
What I can say basically is that I tend to agree with Kobe to a point that every graduate that is trained, sometimes it's not only on your field. So long as you are trained, you should have the opportunity to explore, to make innovations. But in doing so, if you have the innovations, what has been the support systems in place that could support these students who are coming out?
The support system is key.
It's very key. If the support systems are there, because there are a lot of banks who are not even interested in startups. They don't even want to go there. You know, so I think that our graduates should be try and move out. And it takes very bold people who can be able to do all these things. Very, very minimal. If the support systems are very strong, I can see that we'll be able to move away from these white-collar jobs, because the white-collar jobs is choked. It's choked. So long as it's choked, there's not going to be any avenue for you to enter. Do you understand? So for me, I think that the best thing that we could do is that this government have not been able to manage this economy. If they manage to manage the economy will have expanded. The private sector will have been pushing government. So long as he's not being able to employ the public sector, if they are doing well, they'll be able to absorb some of these students who are coming into the labor market. But unfortunately, we are not seeing all these things. And I'm saying it's about leadership.
I'm grateful. Daniel Kwate Titus Glover is a member of parliament for Tema East. He's still asking for your mandate once again to represent in parliament. I'm grateful for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
And Kobe Champon is the aspiring NDC candidate for the Cape Coast North constituency, asking that you vote for him and get him to parliament. We're grateful that you joined us this morning.
Thank you.
And Kadri Abdul Rauf Isifu is the CPP's National Communications Director. Rauf, we're grateful for your time too, and wish you the best too.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, I'm grateful for your time once again. We're grateful. We'll hope to see you next time.